Hi, I'm Eleanor, and welcome to this week's episode of the Intuition Lab. How do you manage when you're at a holiday event and all of your buttons are being pushed, probably at once? Well, this week, I'm going to talk about how you can stay calm in the belly of the beast and just share with you a few intuitive tools to help you manage stress at a holiday event. And what it really centers around is doing a bit of pre preparation so that you're better able to respond to triggers both known and unknown while you're there. So let's get into it. Before you go, let's think about the event you're going to attend. You know, is it a gathering of the usual suspects or, is it completely random? So, if it's an event where there are what I would call expected problems, you know who the people are, you know their tricks, you know what's going to trigger you on some level, like a family gathering where someone needles you about your life, relationship, choices, physical appearance, etc., etc. Slightly different approach if it's unexpected, and I'll get to that later. But for this approach, you really want to lean into the pre-gaming because you know what more of the variables are, right? So just have a feeling, envisage how you want things to go. And if you're not a visioning person, then how do you want to feel at the event while you're there and after the event, too? Because sometimes we go to these events that seem great in the moment and then we're just totally drained afterwards. So here, you can't control 100% of the variables, right? That's true in any situation. But you can control the most important one, yourself, and how you react. So what we're going to do here, breathe in, breathe out. I feel like I'm a little triggered just talking about this. Tap into your intuition beforehand and ask yourself, what are the expected pain points here? Because we know them, but there's some that always seem to come up out of the blue, but they're recurring. Who do you expect to act out? And do you expect to be triggered by something? Like I said, the questions about relationship, appearance, job, comparison to others, etc., etc. So if you know what these are, ask yourself what you can do ahead of time to diffuse it, not stopping them from saying it. And I'm not talking about the let them theory. I am not a fan of that. And maybe one day I'll do an episode about that. But Um, just what can diffuse it for you? What takes the sting out of it? Is it, and what upsets you? Is it the subject matter? Is it the person or the person's doing the asking? Because let's face it, many people do not get better with age. That aunt who was mean to you when she was in her 20s and you were a child is probably still a meanie in her 60s, right? She's probably worse now. Um, or is it how they're doing it? Is it all three? Like, would you be okay with someone talking to you about your relationship issues if it wasn't in front of family members in a public setting? Like, if they, took you out to coffee and said, oh, I notice you've been struggling lately, would that be it? So once you know that, you can sort of just say, well, yes, she's going to ask, and yes, it's a sore point, but I'm not going to let it get to me because I have this, this, and this going for me, for example. But also know that your intuition may present pitfalls to you that you have not thought of yet. Like maybe you'll get an intuitive hint that maybe this relative is also having health issues this year, which makes them take it out on people. And I do not excuse that, but it gives you more understanding. And it's like, okay, they're being difficult. Maybe it's due to their health. I still don't have to take it. So once you've looked at potential triggers, the next thing you're going to want to do is to work on your mitigation strategies, have your game plan in place. You know, what are your boundaries? What will you accept? What will you not accept? Are you happy talking about one subject and totally not okay talking about another subject? It's up to you. But what is your game plan for the event? Is this sort of event where people get worse and worse as the evening drags on, where maybe there's more to drink or There's been more airing of grievances from childhood and maybe previous generations too, right? Is your plan to just go there, go for the food, maybe stay for half an hour, go there to see three people like cousins you don't see or your great grandma who you rarely see, and then get out of Dodge? That's entirely acceptable, but you just have to have your plan in place so that when things happen, when things start to happen, you at least have a framework for what to do. And I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to check off every box, right? Things almost never happen that way. But you have pre made options. You are not the mercy of what goes on at that event. So that's one way to handle an event where you know the players. But what if it's something where you don't know the players? Like it's a public event or a work party and involving people from other parts of the company or organization you work for. So it's sort of unexpected, but when you think about the event, assuming you've agreed to go, does anything about this event stand out to you? Like, why are they doing this? Why are we going? Why am I going? You need to have answers to that. It's a similar approach to the expected triggers, but here your intuitive inquiry, it's more along the lines of what do I need to know about this situation? What might crop up for me? Whereas in the other situation, you have more of those answers. So, again, with this, you need to really know your purpose for being there. I'd say you need to know your purpose for the expected trigger gathering too, right? But you really need to lean into your intuition here because there's more that's unknown. And it's vitally important for you to be okay with why you're going because sometimes we're anxious about going to these events. It's like, oh, well, I want to impress this person. You're already anxious when you show up there. And you just want to be really rooted in why you're there. Also, as with both, but especially with this, know what you will and won't tolerate in general. So, will you tolerate people bringing up your personal life when this is a work event? You can say no to that. Will you tolerate having maybe more of a flirtatious, interaction with a colleague? Or will you just behave in a business like manner the entire time, which is entirely valid? I can't tell you how many huge boundary violations, maybe fireable offenses occur at holiday parties where people are drinking, or people just have their inhibitions down. You just want to be prepared. But in either case, before you go, you want to practice hearing and acting on your energetic cues. You want to have a plan in place and how you're going to energetically and emotionally self regulate. And I talk about the energetic five state a lot, but ideally, you want to enter this event at an energetic five or as close to it as possible. You want to be as well regulated as possible. So maybe you went for a long walk before. Maybe you went to the gym and lifted weights, right? Maybe you had a little bit to eat beforehand so you're not going in there ravenous, right? And if you do take a drink off a tray as soon as you get to the event, if you have a little bit of food in your stomach, as you know, it's likely to not go to your head as quickly. So you've done a little bit of planning before you go, but what about while you're there? So it's all about having your mitigation strategies ready to go. And I would also recommend that throughout any event, you continuously monitor your energy. How far are you from your personal energetic five state? I would say as soon as you are below a 4.5, start to put mitigation strategies that I'll talk about in a minute below. Don't wait till you're in meltdown mode. You know, have an idea for how you're going to handle X, Y, and Z. Everything from someone bumps into you, or you see a former friend or an ex. You want to have that there and put your plans or the intuitive guidance you get on the fly into place. Also, know that retreat is okay. And retreat can take any number of forms from going into a corner, behind a plant or something and just breathing in and out, to going to the bathroom just to put some water on your face or just rinse your hands under cool water to ground yourself in the present moment so your thoughts don't gallop away for you with you, or just getting your coat and going home. That's fine too. But These are all examples of mitigation strategies. And of course, in any event, there are always unexpected occurrences where you get so wound up in your feelings that you can't hear your intuition, or especially when faced with personal confrontation, right? Your mind says not to do something, but your mouth says something else. So thinking on your feet, acting on your feet is a skill. Don't criticize yourself if you don't get it right, but the best way to be able to react, excuse me, respond quickly, and I'll get to that in a minute, is to practice mindfulness, meditation, grounding, prayer, just so you can ground and center yourself and do a bit of energetic shielding too before you go in. You want to, you can shield yourself at any point, but if you really need to feel like you need to cleanse yourself of negativity, like go take a minute for yourself, just to imagine yourself being bathed in powerful white light to get rid of the immediate stressors and just put a shield around yourself just so you can take in what you want to take in and everything else stays out. But to do that, you need to create space. So, as I mentioned, if you're just standing with people and you just take an extra second to respond, you breathe in, breathe out. Like I said, remove yourself temporarily. Bathroom breaks are great for this. Leave altogether if you must, but your overall goal is to respond, not react. And if you really feel things are getting away from you, you can just quietly ask your intuition for help. Just, what is the best thing for me to do right now? Or please just help me. Sometimes you'll get an opening by someone else joining a group, or someone will drop a tray of plates and the noise will just distract everyone. You can get away, or it just breaks the moment. Also, practice following your intuitive cues ahead of time. If you feel I should go left instead of go right, sometimes doing that means you avoid a person you might have conflict with. Also, know when to go. Don't overstay your actual or your energetic welcome. I mean, and I've been guilty of this too. Like, for whatever reason, you just don't want to go home, but it's just dead. You should have left a half hour ago. Or that you are getting worn down. So you've gone from an energetic 5 to maybe a 3.5 and falling. And you really just need to get yourself out of there. Honor that. And that's where the self knowledge and the practice of said intuition and self knowledge comes through. One thing I like to bring up that I do in public is box breathing that can help you to emotionally re regulate and help you just remain or stay calm. And the way to do it, and there are videos out there, but you just breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. So if you imagine it's like breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. If you can do this safely for a count of 4 each time, I find it helps to calm me down. And even if there is something for me to be upset about, or I have to be in conflict with the person, because sometimes it's unavoidable, right? Um, I am in my best space to deal with that conflict. I am not overly amped up. I'm going to deal with this in an effective manner. And why is it helpful to have these mitigation strategies to help you respond, not react? It helps you to short circuit destructive responses, right? They say we will fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And quite often, our first, if you're not acting from a space of intuitive groundedness, you're really going to pick the wrong thing. Like maybe I'm not going to ever tell anyone to fawn, right? But maybe you should just, say nothing instead of letting your fans do the talking, right? Or sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you have to defend yourself. And ideally, you can either diffuse it or get help or walk away, but you want to be as centered as possible. And I'm not suggesting that all our holiday gatherings are going to devolve into fisticuffs, but I'm just saying, do you need to flee rather than engage? Sometimes you need to stand up to a group of bullies unless you think it's going to cause you immediate physical, or I would call it sort of deliberate harm. If you know someone in there is so vindictive that they will do something to retaliate to hurt you that could hurt you at this time, then you need to, you know, quickly reassess and do what you need to do to get out of it. But remember, your attendance at these events is really on your terms because you can choose to engage or not, right? You can choose to have a strategy or not. And these are supposed to be joyous or at least rewarding events, right? But if you go there unprepared, it won't be. So I'm just going to quickly summarize what we talked about, and it'll be like the last minute or two of this podcast. So I hope you can just jump to the end if this is what you need. So in summary, have a game plan, know the lay of the land, you know if these problems that you expect to encounter expected or unexpected, and just go back earlier and see what I discussed on how to deal with it. You want to balance and regulate before you go. Practice hearing your intuition and acting on it. Ask your higher self if there's anything you need to know about this event. While you're there, monitor your energy, read the room. Are things getting hot in there? Should you maybe distance yourself because you think other people are going to just act out? Know what your mitigation strategies are ahead of time. Reinforce your boundaries. You don't have to talk about or engage in anything if you don't want to. Breathe and create space for yourself. You can take an extra breath or two before you respond to someone. Above all, respond, not react. Sometimes the best course of action is to retreat. And remember, your attendance is on your terms. Don't let other people set your agenda. So, what events are you a bit anxious about attending? Do you have a plan for managing it? You can share in the comments below. Reach out to me if you have any difficulty in figuring out what you need to do. And if you really, really would like some guidance and community around managing the holidays, I invite you to join Pathfinders, my free Telegram based community where we discuss intuitive prompts. And through the end of the year, it's all about intuitively surviving the holidays. I will offer intuitive tools to help you manage. You can, be in community with other people who are struggling with the same things you are. Well, not just struggling, but thriving. We share our successes and wins too. And I am going to start dropping things like meditations and other tools you can use to just self regulate, live life intuitively and more joyously. So until next week, I wish you much joy if you are at home or at events or whatever. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.